Hello, this is Positive Vibes Enterprise. I'm Tom Goodwin, and the person operating the camera is Michelle Ronquillo.
Hi, everybody.
And the subject today has to do with spiritual meditative training techniques, and we're going to deal with trauma too. And the reason we're going to deal with that is that's what these training techniques are the best at dealing with, the most intense situation, overcoming the most intense emotional situations that may have left trauma or something that you have to overcome within you in order to develop further spiritually. Okay, so I'm going to start by demonstrating my meditative training techniques, and I'm just limbering up right now. So the first thing I'll do is limber up. I'll go down like this and do this type of stretching. I do mainly dynamic stretches, which are stretches that are just moving stretches that I really don't do anything that I'm going to push too far with to hurt myself. So I do like this, and I don't stretch to the point I'm going to hurt myself. I'm just limbering up. And a lot of athletes do this type of stretching before they work out in order to get their body warmed up and ready. Okay. So, and then I do my legs. I'm not the most flexible, but I do what I can. I was born without a lot of flexibility, which probably had something to do with some of my limitations that are neurological and finer motor skills that have, represent themselves in other ways in the body. I'm a specialist because I have limitations. And I'm differently able, and I'm, differently able and very good in the spiritual. And a lot of people who are differently able are capable in certain areas, and we need to take advantage of them and stop pushing them to the sidelines because we need their talent and ability. Okay, so I've done I do more stretching in this demonstration, but this is just a demonstration. And I do stretch my neck when I do it. And I feel that that's important because you want to get the neck. That's an important, very important muscle in the neck. Okay, now I'll take the dumbbell swing and I'll just do a quick warm up here, where I'll warm up the muscles quickly. Because you got to have the body ready when you do an intense exercise.
How much does that dumbbell weigh, Tom?
Oh, it weighs 20 pounds. But the thing is, when you're doing an exercise like this, which is pretty intense, you have to work up to it. I do it at a real intense level, but I've been doing it for over 4 years, and I was in good shape beforehand. So I'm just used to it. You have to, when you do something, of course, when you do something to the real intense degree, it takes quite a while to get really good at it.
Yes, take your time. And
yeah, because as I say, it takes a lot of time for your body to get used to it, and you have to have days in which you can recover from it. I don't know if I think I'm covering everything. It's kind of hard to talk and remember what I'm doing, but I did pretty well. I did these, didn't I? Where I rotate like this. Well, I'll do it over again if I didn't show you. I just try to cover all the different muscles. Okay, when I do the dumbbell swing, which I do like this, let's see, can you get a good picture on cam? Get it back a little bit further, maybe?
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, right about here.
There you go.
Okay. You see how it's done with me? All the way down, all the way up. It's a modified type dumbbell swing because I try to get a lot of muscles involved and use a lot of muscles. I don't do things the orthodox way because I adjust them to make them work better for me. I am not a person that just conforms or has a mindset that just goes along with everybody else. I am creative, so I try to improve on that which is out there rather than just go along. Okay, I do 17 breaths per swing. And the way it's going to be, yeah. What I mean, you'll get the point when I start doing it. It's just so hard for me to do it when I don't have the weight because I go too fast without the weight. The weight slows me down. I'm not used to doing the exercise without the weight. Okay, so I'm going to do it for a little while. And I'm going to close my eyes a lot of the time because when you're doing meditative exercises, if you really want to get the most out of it, you have to have an inner focus. And the inner focus connects with more the dreamlike state, which means that you do better with your eyes closed, at least a portion of the time when you're doing meditation, because it's just more comfortable with your eyes closed when you're turned inward. It's just an automatic. And you can actually close the eyes quite forcefully. That tends to work and help you connect with inwardly really well. Just the tension in that area. I guess get the third eye going. That would be a good theory.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I didn't put my gloves on. I might as well put my gloves on. So, because it can be rough on the hands if you do it a while. Even though I'm only going to do a short demonstration. I'm not going to do all 6 minutes.
Yes, this is to get you an idea of his techniques, how to do them, and what he does when he does it full throttle into the spiritual techniques. This is his core exercise, by the way.
Okay.
To let you all know.
I'll get started. You see, I was doing this, and this was just to get my, further warm up, doing the actual movement without the weight. Yeah.
Okay, we're ready.
We're ready. Okay, I will try to get further back so that it can be seen more easily. Okay. Now you can see what I'm doing, how the motion is. The rapid breathing has an impact. Now, if I'm not doing the rapid breathing, I can still do it, you notice, without the rapid breathing. The rapid breathing is what puts you in an intense spiritual state. Now, when I'm not doing the rapid breathing, it's not as difficult to do. Like you can see, I can talk and do it now very readily. Now I'll go back to the rapid breathing. Now I can do that for non-stop for 6 minutes. Well, I used to be able to do it more when I wasn't breathing as hard. So you can tell that the exercise actually gets more difficult with the rapid breathing. The rapid breathing actually eats up a lot more energy. So therefore, it's not an efficient exercise. If I was one of these, people that were doing regular non-meditative exercise, they would say, why are you doing that? That's wasting a lot of energy. But it's not wasting energy because it's increasing the spiritual focus while you're doing it. So it's conditioning you to be able to deal with crisis-type energy on the spiritual level. So it puts you in a spiritual state of crisis, along with a physical, intense state. So you can see I have no trouble doing it when I am just talking and not breathing as hard. Okay, so I jumped into my dumbbell swings pretty quickly. I was going to show some of my meditative techniques, but okay, we'll do the demonstration. And one of the things, with the dumbbell swings, you do use the shoulders a lot, so therefore it stimulates the brain, helps the brain get more circulation to the upper body focus. And anything that had a lot of movement right up here is going to get the nerves near the brain going too. So you can tell how it can help the brain to function better by what you're doing with the circulation and so forth. And the important part of that is when you're in an intense meditative state, your brain can have a tendency not to get enough circulation and you'll faint or you won't be able to do it if it gets too intense. The reason I can do meditative states that other people can't do is because I use technique to allow the brain to keep functioning in these states. So, in other words, there's method in the madness. That's what you have to understand. That I have technique. So when I'm doing this, you see when I'm doing this, and I really try to lift my arms up a lot and really push, like I'm massaging the neck. I'm pushing up against that neck hard. I'm not playing around, because when I meditate, I don't fool around. I try to meditate in a way nobody else does. And then, of course, once I teach it, everybody will be doing it. But not everybody, but a good number of people. So you see what I'm doing. And then you get the breathing. Now, that's breathing in with one step and out with the other. And that would be how you would begin with that technique. I do the one breathing in and out with each step. I do the more rapid one. But I didn't do that for years. For years I did the... And the feet are rather important. In other words, you don't want to lose your balance because you're in a meditative state. And it's an altered state. So you have to be careful. And if you read about meditative walking on the internet, they'll say it's almost all about the feet and the movement of the feet. But it's not. It's more than the feet with my system. But you still have to pay attention to the feet to make sure you have good balance, that you're grounded. You hear that? That's grounding. My feet are in the object. What I do is when I put my feet down, I don't land on my heels. I land slightly on the toes, but mostly on the middle of the feet. So in other words, I'm getting a really solid pat landing when I do it. Now, when you're doing the meditative walk, if you're doing it with the way I do, with the breathing in and out with each step. Now, I don't do it with my mouth when I'm doing it. I breathe through the nose. I'm doing it through the mouth as a demonstration. When I do the dumbbell swings, I breathe through the mouth because you have to pretty much get it so intense. But when I'm doing this, and I don't necessarily do it quite that fast. I'm just getting a little bit exaggerated. And if you get pains in your body when you're doing it, which will happen when you get more intense at it, what you do is you focus on your pain that you have in your body, and you slow down while focusing on it. And you try to do more of the focus on the upper body and the breathing and the massaging the neck. Because what you want to do is get the brain to function more, and then you want the part of your nervous system that's not happy to to not strain the brain as much, so you can get the circulation and what you need. Because a lot of what happens when it comes to pain is neurological. And in meditation, I feel, is a lot more neurological, even if it tends to exaggerate any of your weak points. Meaning it's, if you have a pain already, and it will make it exaggerated if it's not getting the circulation or the blood or the brain support it needs. And part of this obviously increases the circulation a little bit too. When you get the brain going, it usually increases the circulation just a little bit more. And it's all a matter of subtleties. It's always a fine line because you're in a slow state. And in meditation, it's a controlled hyperventilated state. But a lot of times the amount of hyperventilation is just a subtle increase over the normal state, just enough so you can get away with the meditative state. So it's rather tricky. So, yeah, so the key is that you have to you have to adjust the body to the breathing, to the hyperventilated state, the meditative state. Okay, so you can do the same technique that I do like this, lying down. But when you're lying down, what you do, you just move your shoulders, with your breathing like you were doing when you were doing the meditative walk. and then you just wiggle your feet. You don't have to move your legs at all. You just move your feet. And so your feet are all that's involved in the step work. So you're doing a thing where you're moving your feet and your shoulders as though you are walking, but you're not only using your feet and your shoulders. You're not doing a lot. You can use your arms a little bit. I find that I'm just lifting, when you're lying down, if you just lift your arms a little bit like this, it works really well with my latest technique, just to get added circulation when you're doing the shoulder work. So I like that when you're lying down. You can do that sitting too, obviously. And that will increase the meditative state. Now you might think that's a little crazy, but there are people that do all kinds of movements when they're doing, their prayer and meditation. So if you check it out, you'll find that there's
Actually, I have been doing the meditative walking, and when I am doing the technique of moving my shoulders and getting the oxygen to my brain, you definitely feel the meditative state, and you really do not care what people are looking at or thinking about you. And I'm getting my arms involved in it, and it really is a wonderful meditative walk training. It's been an awesome journey so far with Tom and his teachings of all his techniques, and they really do make a difference.
And when you're doing the walking, you can shut your eyes for 2 steps and open them for 2 steps, as long as there are no cars or anything. What I mean is, if you were blind, you could walk along the road and you could get away with it. You just have to be careful at certain points. The same thing when you're doing a meditative walk. There are periods where you can do this thing where you shut your eyes for 2 steps and you open your eyes for 2 steps and shut it. And then you come to a person passing by, you keep your eyes open, you don't want to look obvious. Then you get to an intersection, you can always stop. That's one of the keys with meditative walking. You can always stop. If you start getting woozy or you start losing your balance, stop. You can always stop, and you have to remember that that's safety, to stop.
Yes, please know that you have to have your own understandings of your boundaries of how far you can push your body, and know your limits. You have to know your limits spiritually on everything when it comes to nutrition and health. So this is no different. So know the limits and your body of the meditative walks, and take care of yourself.
In a meditative walk, you may say, oh, that's simple, that's easy. But even the breathing in and out with one, with breathing in with one step and out with the other, takes a while to get used to. So you have to gradually work up to it and get used to it and figure it out. Because the body does not automatically adjust. A lot of times it'll take a week for you to adjust to something new if you do it every day. And then you can add things. In other words, you can do it on a simpler level, and you can actually get creative and figure out what will work for you and keep developing it. You don't have to do it exactly my way. It's just that the principles apply. So yes, it's important.
28 days it takes to change a habit. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, in a week you might pick it up a certain amount, but you're not going to pick it up overnight. And one of the things, you've got to always have recovery time. In other words, and the thing is, the dumbbell swings, that's my most intense, hardest exercise. That's the exercise that it's so intense that no trauma in my life is as strong as the exercise I do when I do it for 6 minutes. It becomes the hardest trauma of my life every time I do it. That cleans me out. And of course I have to have a really good diet. I had to figure out what worked for me dietary-wise over years and years and years. And everybody's different. So diet becomes an important aspect of it too. You can't push your limits. Like an athlete has to be pretty good with diet too. And some of them aren't as good. But with what we do with this thing, you better be good with diet. And you're going to get better at it because you're going to become more sensitive. As you develop the exercise, it should develop the sensitivity. It also should develop the willpower. And as you get the willpower, then you can get rid of the bad habits, the smoking or whatever, and so you can do it better. Because the object of the training is to enable one to become healthier in every other way too. And you have to get healthy to do the training. Because the training itself requires that you develop more health. and you have to do the things that go along with it to be healthy. In other words, if you're eating junk food, you're not going to be able to develop it as well as if you're eating a healthy diet and so forth.
Yeah, it's just like anything in the spiritual. Anything that's going to clog you up is going to make that evolvement harder. So you want to have good health, you want to have good habits, and you want to understand your body in control of safety and pushing the boundaries.
And one other thing is, if you have any medical problems or whatever, you need to check with a medical professional to, make sure that you're able to handle exercise. Usually walking is not too hard on the body. If you don't, the type of walking I do, you'd have to gradually adjust to, but at the beginning you should be able to do it in a way that it shouldn't be too rough on you. The dumbbell swings, as I say, is a very intense exercise, so you have to gradually work from lower weight to heavier weights. You can do it without any weights. You can gradually increase the breathing. You're not going to be able to breathe as rapidly as me for quite some time because I've been doing this for decades, so my rapid breathing has been developed. So you can do a thing where you just figure out how to increase your breathing based on what seems you can endure at, meaning it has to be comfortable enough to endure at. I can endure at an extremely rapid breathing rate because I can get comfortable at that. But other people would not be comfortable at that, obviously. So you have to gradually adjust your breathing when you're doing the dumbbell swing. But the dumbbell swing is an exercise, as I say, that I developed to be able to handle the worst of the worst, the most intense stuff that could come my way, so that even in public, everybody sends all this energy my way, I'll be able to take on all challenges. That's what it was developed for, so that nothing would intimidate me or overwhelm me. It was my most intense. But most people, just doing the meditative walk will be enough. They don't even have to do the dumbbell swings, because the meditative walk is a very good training exercise. And for the people that can't even do walking, you can do the lying down. Do what you can. As I tell people, as long as you can breathe, you can meditate.
Yes.
And that's the key. Any kind of breathing exercise that is hard to do, challenging to do, and it's going to be meditative. And usually for people that are really struggling and they can't hardly do anything but breathe, breathing itself becomes a meditative exercise because it becomes a real struggle just to do it. And if it becomes a struggle, it's an effective meditative exercise as soon as it becomes a struggle or a challenge. So that's the key that you have to remember. So don't let anybody tell you you can't meditate unless you're on a breathing machine, and then, there's not much you can do at that point until you get off.
Even then, Tom will find a way.
Well, I mean, you can still, here you go, you challenge me, and I say you can still make your...
He's working on that, too. He's gonna
you can still quiet...
meditate on a breathing machine.
You quiet your mind, and you focus on the sound of the breathing machine while you quiet your mind.
That's it.
That's how it works. You see, I can think of these things right on the spot.
Love it.
I have, my creativity is always working in that area.
And there's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Okay, let's move on to the next step, which is having to do with trauma, which these exercises are good at helping one to overcome.
Okay. I'm going to stay back here, kind of.
Okay, well, let's get this thing together. So, a lot of times, let's see if we...
There we go.
Get ourselves situated. Okay. People a lot of times go through an awful lot that it's rough on them. They have accidents or they have violence against them, all kinds of abuse. Yeah. And what it does is a lot of times it is too much for the person to handle emotionally, because when you're young, a lot of things can be hard to handle emotionally because it takes time to develop emotional strength and ability to handle a lot. So what will happen is you'll be left, the trauma will leave an imprint on you, and it will come and it will affect your attitude and how you can handle things, and you'll have problems in certain areas related to the trauma. If you were victimized, you can have an attitude related to the victimization. You may exaggerate.
Yeah, you might go into the withdrawal of the trauma. You might block it out even. There's people that try to run from the self
And it hinders your spiritual development because it puts a weight on you or a distortion on you that you're not willing to go past. So a lot of times it'll lock people in because they don't want to, relive the pain. But you have to. In other words, you can't get past the pain until you conquer the pain.
That's
it.
And
that's what the meditation helps you to do, is to handle more and more duress and pain and difficulty. In other words, my dumbbell swings puts me into a really tense and difficult state. It's rough on me. It's extremely rough on me. And I've been, I've sort of like faced pain all my life without painkillers pretty much. And I haven't taken painkillers in over 25 years or so. And what that does, it also makes me more aware of my body, tuned into the body, because the pain is something that makes you aware of when you're pushing your limits. So if you are not numbing it or getting, trying to avoid it, you can tune into it more finely. And I can pick up the subtle pains really well that tell me that I have to adjust what I'm doing, or I'll hurt myself. And since I push myself every day really hard, I don't have a lot of leeway, so I can't be messing up. I have to read my body extremely well. And that has a lot to do with it. So you can see trauma is going to make it harder for you to read your body well or to tune into your body well, because a lot of trauma is the result of something that happened to your body. So a lot of times people who have dealt with trauma will tend to want to tune the body out or tune sections of the body out, because they don't want to deal with the trauma and the pain that comes with it.
True, and even down to the emotional sense of trauma, the denials there, maybe the excuse, maybe the exaggeration of the pain. And I've seen that happen as well, where the pain is not as bad as they seem to be making it out. So the exaggerated emotional pain tends to be demonstrated out on the body, and people crumble. So you have to face that. You got to know your strength. You got to know what you are exaggerating in those emotional pains when you're dealing with them, and understand where the trauma is going to lead you in healing, which is that was then and this is now. And in the now, you have to push forward with things that hurt, because once you face those things, you can heal them. And a lot of times, and you can research this, exercise literally puts out all those great chemicals in your body that will help overcome trauma in the body, because it's I don't have all the science words, but people quitting smoking cigarettes and people are trying to break bad habits will go to exercise and do exercise to plug in the healthy balance of what your body needs.
It has been discovered that actually exercise helps people to handle pain better.
Yes.
And what I find, what happens is, if you have a counter focus to the pain, the pain will become less.
That's right.
Than if you're focusing on the pain. But you can focus on the pain when you're doing the breathing exercises, because the breathing exercises are going to create a counter focus that will work even when you're focusing on the pain.
That's right.
And help you to handle it. And that's what I've always done when I've dealt with pain, is I've always fought it with my breathing exercises. And I had to improve my meditative walk, of course, because my meditative walk has had times in which it couldn't overcome the pain or the stress.
Yeah, and there's been times where I was stressed out. I'm like, Tom, we need a meditative walk.
Because the stress makes the pain worse, so you have to deal with the stress.
Yeah.
In other words, you actually exaggerate the pain because it makes you go into a panic. And you've got to learn to become cool when times get rough. Because we have a world in which there's all these serious problems, and they're painful problems, and the only way we're going to handle them is to get tougher, and we can't handle the duress or the difficult or the pain that comes with the problems of the world. We won't solve it.
We need the control. We need to understand that spiritual balance is going to give us something very valuable for our bodies, our mind, our spirits, and for others, and our examples of doing those things to overcome the trauma and the pains that we feel in life.
But it's kind of hard to reach somebody spiritually when you bring up a subject and it pains them, and then they start going after you.
They close it.
They close it, and they get mad at you for bringing it up, or expressing it with any intensity at all, even if the intensity is no different than you talk about other subjects. They'll go on you because they can't handle it, and they go into a panic when you bring the subject up.
Displaced anger. A lot of people do that in life. You see them, they're supposed to be in retail, and they're displaying their anger, whatever it is, that out on you, out on the customer.
Yeah, because of their past trauma, tend to do that. But with me, I can't represent certain spiritual theories without some people going crazy on me. And I need people, I need people that I can reach people with very reasonable spiritual theories that I developed. I didn't develop them out of ego. Oh, this is my theory, so I should fight for it for everything else. My right to have this theory, no matter how junky it is. To me, I like to be, I could go on a chalkboard and I could show this theory, I could show that theory like a professor and say, why does this theory allow you to have a better connection with physical reality so you can do better here in this challenging world, which brings out the most in the spirit. And I can just simply, I can explain that very readily like a professor in a very reasonable way. But for some people, that would be an attack just to say their theory is not as good as my theory. And so they get locked in, and it really amazes me, and that's what trauma does to people.
Yeah, it does. It's sad to see people hurting themselves.
Well, the thing is, almost everybody in our world has trauma because we live in a very abusive world.
Hey, so, I know I had my share of trauma, and
how can you get through a world that's so messed up as the world we live in without having trauma? But we need people to advance further spiritually, dump the trauma, and reach a higher level.
Examples. John Walsh, America's Most Wanted Criminals. I think that was one of my favorite examples of someone that took trauma. I mean, he lost his son. And he took that and he started collecting criminals. And I don't know, it's up there high. He's like literally brought in a lot of criminals. But he took his trauma of losing his son and flipped it around to something positive for the world and himself. So, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about spiritually taking trauma, emotional, physical pains, and flipping them, going through them, healing the inner child, looking at it, standing up, and after getting beat down by life, and go forward. It's not about getting knocked down. It's about how you get up. I know that's a quote from a movie somewhere. But the point is that in this training, in this wonderful theories that Tom has, and that I am sitting here saying that as an example, I do the experiments and the examples and all the wonderful things that Tom has. So I'm not at the dumbbell swings, I'll just tell you that. I'm still at the meditative walking, people. And I'm still healing my own body of trauma and healthy, habit breaking and all that wonderful things. But the point is that moving forward into evolvement, moving forward into a spiritual understanding of where my body and or my mind wants to be, I will openly let in and invite everything that Tom has to train me with. So.
And we do have to find ways to get healthier, and trauma prevents us from getting healthier. And the reason why we have to get healthier is we cannot create a healthier world and deal with the problems of this world so it will be healthier unless we first get healthier.
That's right.
And get rid of our own trauma. Because the trauma, what does it do? It gives you bad habits and all kinds of other things.
Yeah, delusions even. Some people have some crazy delusions over their trauma.
Well, the delusions will support the trauma, what the trauma has done to distort their reality. They'll use the delusion to hold on to their trauma. In order to get rid of their trauma, they have to get rid of the delusion, so they have to work together.
And you have to be open to listen, to say, hey, you know what, that sounds like a delusion to me. You want to take a look at that for yourself. And then some people that want to evolve will say, okay, let's look at this. And then, we can help people heal from those traumas by reassuring them.
It takes time, but you first have the awareness that you have to overcome something. And of course, it's going to be painful for quite a time. The truth is painful.
Truth hurts.
But you can do the meditative training, and you can focus on healing the trauma when you're doing it.
Yes.
Focus on that. And you will gradually get stronger, and you will heal it if you work at it, because work pays off. You really focus on
persistence. That's all that.
In other words, we can do amazing things spiritually if we do the work. And when you're talking about pain, the more you train to handle pain, the more pain you can handle without it bothering you so much. So in other words, you get stronger and stronger at handling more pain. I don't go around, I'm hurting terrible all the time. It's just not that way. And it takes a lot of pain, or something to get to me. My nerves are steel, but that's what the meditative thing is. A neurological exercise when you do meditation. It strengthens the nerves.
It does definitely help you when you're moving your shoulders in the meditative walks. And in the focus that it takes is also brings healing, because you're focusing on your ailments and what you want to make stronger.
And so in the nerves carry the pain messages, so you get real strong nerves. Then when the times get rough and things are hitting you from every angle, you'll be tough enough, because when dealing with pain strengthens you when you do pain training, or I've even done hunger training, and hunger in itself is not unhealthy. It's just a case you got to eat enough, and it's all right to build up a good appetite and be a certain. And most people who are different spiritually or into the spiritual are going to pick up hunger, and because of the stress they feel for being different and trying to be better spiritually than other people. And the stress tends to put on weight, and you try to take it off, it's going to create hunger. And you want to eat regularly, but if you can learn to handle more and more hunger, you can actually get rid of that comfort and cushion of fat, so that you're in a more healthier body shape. Because as they say, stomach fat can cause all kinds of ailments. So the main thing is to cut down on the amount of stomach fat. That's what the scientists would tell you.
Work it out.
Okay, so the subject today had to do with my meditative training techniques, and we mentioned trauma because what is the most challenging thing that these meditative training techniques would have to deal with? It would be trauma.
And stress and anxiety. And hey, when you need a meditative walk, you go out and do. I tell Tom, it's time. We need to go do a meditative walk. I've had a crazy day. Get some of this stuff out, and your nerves are getting stronger, and your body and your brain is getting stronger. You got to try it for yourselves. And also, make sure medical and all that good stuff is covered, because we're just literally here to let everybody know that we need like-minded people that want to push the envelope and the open-minded energy fields of training and give it a try.
And we appreciate you watching this.
Yes.
It's almost 38 minutes.
Oh my goodness, this is our longest video. Thanks for hanging.
So anybody that's hanging, we really appreciate it.
That's awesome. Thank you.
And spread the word about us.
Subscribe. Keep coming back for more.
We do need more people watching us. We're still not getting...
and say something, and I have my live chat popped out. So you say something,
we would like to. I'll
be able to read it.
We would like
talk to you.
We would like to get more than 20 views. I think my last spiritual training video, actually, one of my first actually had the most views, but that's because it's been around a long time. But we would rather.
Yeah, we want to get on an everyday basis talking to you and spreading.
We have so many more videos. This is number 87.
Yay!
And they're all good.
And this is the longest.
And this is, of course, they get better as time goes on, but they still were good then.
Yes. Thank you so much for watching.
We really appreciate your support.
See you.